guys. Welcome back to Brighten-Up-Sunshine. Every day is a new beginning, and today we're going to dive into some powerful stuff. It's often overlooked, and what are we talking about? The words we speak. It's amazing to think that something as simple as our language can shape not only our lives, but it actually affects everyone around us. Simple stuff like language it seems so simple, but it's not. So we're going to explore how our words actually hold the power to create, to destroy, to inspire, and to heal. And by the end, we're never going to look at speech the same way again. For example, did you know that the average person speaks 1,600 words every single day? Now that's a lot of power packed into just a few little syllables. But how many of these words are uplifting? How many are destructive? And how many that we say do we actually forget we said? The words we speak carry immense weight. In fact, our words have been shaping reality since the beginning of time. Think about this. God spoke the world into existence. In Genesis 1:3, he said, "Let there be light." And there was light. From the very beginning, words have had the power to create. But while we may not be able to speak the world into existence, our words actually have power to build or break down everything we come in interaction with. Words have power. Okay, let's just say we agree with that. Let's start with that foundational ideal. Words have power. This is not just a modern concept, by the way. History shows the impact of language on society. There's movements, and in fact, powerful words have launched some of the most significant events in history. Consider this, the speech given by Winston Churchill. It's World War II, the year 1940. He says, "We shall fight on the beaches. We shall fight on the landing grounds. We shall fight in the fields and in the streets. We shall fight in the hills. We shall never surrender." Now, these words did not just rally the British people, it actually changed the course of the war itself. The very survival of a nation hung on the belief that the words could fuel action. Then let's take a look at Martin Luther King Jr. His famous speech, "I Have a Dream," delivered 1963. There's a March on Washington, and the King's words did not just reflect a hope for the future, they ignite the movement for civil rights, influencing generations to come. Both these speeches were more than just words. They were actions waiting to happen. They were fueled by this deep understanding that words not only have something that, we say, but it's something that we feel. When spoken with conviction, they can steer our hearts, fuel our courage, and propel people into action. They can also tear you down and destroy people. But the power of words is not just evident in history. It's in our everyday lives as well. A simple compliment can lift someone's spirits, while a harsh word can cut deeply and leave scars. There is science behind the words. Why do words have such power? Science has some answers to this. Let's look at the brain for just a moment. When we speak, our brain releases chemicals, and that influences our emotions. See, positive words activate areas in the brain associated with happiness, while negative words can activate areas associated with stress and anxiety. Have you ever wondered why hearing a compliment makes you smile? Think about that for a second. Or how a nasty comment can ruin your entire day and that's all you're thinking about. And then it affects the way you treat other people around you. It's because our brains are wired to respond to language in profound ways. It's amazing, actually. Words can change the chemical balance in our very body. There's a study. It was done by Dr. Emoto, and you can go look this up. He's a Japanese researcher. Water crystals responded to the words they were exposed to. In his experiences and experiments that he did, Dr. Emoto found water exposed to words like love and peace and thank you actually formed beautiful, symmetrical crystals. Meanwhile, water exposed to negative words like hate and anger, think about this, by the way, your body is made of mostly water, produces distorted, broken crystals. Now, our body is at least 60% water. How might our body be responding to words we say to ourselves and to others? Could our could our self-talk actually alter our emotions and our physical well-being? Dr. Emoto's study shows that he thinks so, and I kind of think so too, and there's lots of videos on that. Words in the Bible and ancient wisdom. Now, let's dive into some of this wisdom from ancient times, specifically in the Bible, Proverbs 18:21. It says, "The tongue has the power of life and death, and those who love it eat its fruit." The verse does not just warn us, it emphasizes the consequences of our words, both the good ones and the bad. The Bible is constantly teaching us that words are a reflection of our hearts. In Matthew 12:34, Jesus says, "For the mouth speaks what the heart is full of." What comes out of the mouth is rooted in what's inside our hearts. Consider the story of creation. God, He did not just create the world silently, but again, He spoke. His words were powerful enough to bring into this world everything that exists. Genesis 1 shows us that when God said, "Let there be light," He was not just making an observation. His words were creative forces that changed the fabric of our reality. Throughout the Bible, words are used to bless, to curse, to heal, to hurt. And James 3:5-6 says the tongue is compared to a small spark that can set a forest on fire. This shows how something so small can be so destructive. But the Bible also shows us the healing power of words. Proverbs 12:18 says, "The words of the reckless pierce like swords, but the tongue of the wise will bring healing." Now, this is not just metaphorical. Words can actually heal. Think of, think of the effects of the kind, loving words. Words of encouragement, they lift you up right out of despair. Words of praise actually inspire us. Words of faith transform our situation. The Bible calls us to choose our words and to speak them very selectively because we want to bring life and blessing to others and to ourselves. So there is an impact of words on our lives. But beyond the Bible and scientific research, let's get practical for a second. How do the words we speak actually affect our everyday lives? Well, it starts with our self-talk. The way we talk to ourselves can shape our reality more than we could even realize. If we're constantly telling ourselves, "You're not good enough, you're not capable, you're not pretty enough, you're not tall enough, you're not short enough, you're not skinny enough," whatever those things are, then guess what? It's going to tear us down. The more negative we speak of ourselves, the more we feed that belief. It just becomes a cycle. And it does, it tears you down. On the flip side, positive affirmations, speaking life into our situation, can have the opposite effect. Think of people who wake up every day with a positive mindset, like using words like, "I'm worthy, I'm capable, I'm more than a conqueror, I can overcome any challenge, I've did this before, I've got this, you're good enough." These words are not just empty phrases. They're beliefs waiting to manifest. Even in the toughest times, words can shape our future. Consider this story for just a second, and this one I like. Thomas Edison, the inventor of the light bulb. As a child, his teacher said he was too stupid to learn anything. Edison's mother, however, chose to reject those words, and she told him, "Your teacher's a fool. You are not stupid." Instead of accepting the negative label, Edison went on to become one of the most known inventors in history. Without him, we wouldn't have the light bulb. His mother's words created a shift in his mindset that changed the course of his life and, all of our lives. So words can change the world. That's what I want to get across today. Words matter. Let's take a look at how words have changed the world. Think about the Declaration of Independence, where Thomas Jefferson wrote that all men are created equal. These words became the foundation for the United States of America, setting in motion the fight for freedom and justice. Consider these words of Nelson Mandela, who said, "It always seems impossible until it's done." And that is so true. Things seem so impossible until the things are done. Okay, let's consider some more. Um, like, let me see here. There's, oh, okay. I'm reading my notes here. I've got that these words of Mandela changed South Africa, but I believe they've affected a lot of the world, because if we look like at our sports teams today and what they're capable of doing in high school, years ago you would have never thought you could run what the track runs now. You thought your heart would have exploded, because it always seems impossible, just not going to happen until it's done. And when it's done and we see somebody do something, then what happens? We often think we can do it too, and then we often go and do it and exceed it. Words will rally people to fight for justice, equality, and human rights. They spark revolutions, unite nations, and inspire great achievements. But words, we have to be careful, because they also tear down. History's filled with instances where language has been used to divide, dehumanize, and oppress the people. In the end, the choice is ours. Will we speak words that build up, or will we use speech to destroy? Will we choose words of peace and love and encouragement, or will we fall into the trap of negativity, gossiping, and hate? These are questions we have to ask ourselves every day. Certainly, our words matter. I think that some of these things I've talked about here today shows that. There's psychology behind our words. We see how words shape the world around us. But let's take a look at how our words influence our minds on a psychological level. See, words are not just carriers of meaning, they're actual signals to our brains to respond emotionally and physically. When we use positive language, our brains release that chemical dopamine, that feel-good chemical. And this explains why hearing encouraging words actually uplift our spirit and motivate us. Conversely, those negative words activate another chemical part of our brain that produces fear and anxiety. Isn't that interesting that words can actually change our chemical makeup? And then those negative words that release those fear chemicals, like the harsh words or the emotional pain and the physical stress we feel, that would come from negative words. And prolonged exposure to negativity can actually contribute to feelings of anxiety, depression, and then by feeling that over time, it actually weakens our immune system. Now, is that not just interesting? Think about it. It just started with a word. Sticks and stones will hurt your bones, but words will never hurt you. Or sticks and stones will break your bones, but words will never hurt you. If you guys remember, just type it in the live there. But basically, I disagree. I think words will hurt you. The key psychological concept is cognitive reframing. Now, this is an ideal in psychology, that by changing the way we think and speak about a situation, we can change our perception of it. For example, instead of simply saying, "I have to go to work," we could reframe the statement to say, "I get to go to work." And you know what's interesting? When we first got like our first job or something, we probably thought that, "Yes, I got the job." It's only after you got the job that you start thinking, "Oh, I got to go to work." So this is called in psychology a reframing technique, and it's used in cognitive behavior therapy, and it helps individuals to reframe their inner dialogue and shift their negative thought patterns, because language is powerful. The language we use is not just reflection of our thoughts, it's a tool that actually reshapes how we think. And what's even more fascinating is that these shifts in thought influence our physical health, our relationships, and even our long-term success. So words throughout history. History has some of the most remarkable speeches, as I've mentioned some in this video already, all of which were built on the power of words. Like, look at John F. Kennedy's inaugural address. 1961 is the year. What does he say in that? He says, ask not what your country can do for you, but ask what you can do for your country. Now, these words were not just a call to action. They became a rally cry for an entire generation, urging Americans to contribute to society and take responsibility for the future of their nation. Winston Churchill, World War II, he used words to rally the British people during their darkest days when he said, never in the field of human conflict was so much owed by so many to so few. That's interesting. He wasn't just phrasing, the bravery of the soldiers. He was steering a sense of collective responsibility and courage that would carry them through one of the most dangerous periods in history. So we've talked about Nelson Mandela, but think about this. He spent 27 years in prison. When he was released in 1990, then he began to speak to the world about peace. And his words like, I have walked that long road to freedom. I have tried not to falter. Yeah. And I have made missteps along the way. We all have. But those words are powerful. And in words, they do shape how we think, but they also shape how others think. So our words are super powerful. We have to be careful what we're saying. And let me see if there's anything else I want to touch before we wrap this up, because I know it's getting long here and I really have some other things I need to be doing as well. But just think about the social impact of our words, like communicating in our relationships. They don't just influence our minds, they shape our relationships. Think about how communication forms the foundation of every connection we have with others, whether it's with our family, our friends, our colleagues, or strangers. The way we communicate builds bridges or tears them down. Take marriage, for example. In a relationship, our words we choose, we can express love, appreciation, and understanding, and sustain that bond with compliments and acts of kindness and words of affirmation. They keep our marriage strong or our relationship strong. But when words of criticism, negativity, anger dominate, they erode the connection between people. It's just that simple. Our words are so powerful. Okay, guys, I'm going to wrap it up. I hope if you've just dropped on that you re-listen to this. We're about 18 minutes in. We've talked about a lot here, and there's a lot of science with words. There's a lot of history with words, and your words that you say today are going to matter and influence your tomorrow. So thank you guys for stopping by. If you've not subscribed or checked out the channel, of course, go ahead and do that if you'd like. And I appreciate every one of you. Have a beautiful day. Bye.